Dear ones, what can we learn from the story of Balaam and the talking donkey? Now, as the Israelites were walking across the wilderness and going to the promised land of Canaan, they passed through a lot of nations, and the leaders of these nations felt threatened because the Israelites were very many in number, just as God had promised Abraham that he would make him the father of a big nation. So one such king who felt threatened was the king Balak of Moab. He saw them and he saw the large number, and he felt threatened that these people might come and invade my land and take over. So he summoned Balaam, who was a well-known prophet and seer, to come over to his palace so that he could give him instructions to curse the Israelites. Now Balaam was very respected because everybody knew that God would give him prophecies from time to time. So Balaam accepted the summons, and he got on his donkey to go and see the king. But the donkey refused to go on the way. It completely refused to go. So Balaam beat the donkey 3 times. And the donkey asked him, Balaam, why are you beating me 3 times? So Balaam argued with the donkey until God opened his eyes and he saw before the donkey the reason why the donkey was not moving. Because there was an angel of God standing there and blocking the way with a sword in his hand. So the angel of God told Balaam to go, but only to speak the words that God will tell him to speak. So Balaam went, and sure enough, the King Balak offered him a lot of money and asked him to curse the Israelites. 3 times he made the request, but Balaam refused, and instead 3 times Balaam found himself blessing the Israelites. This is because what we can learn, lesson number 1, is that the will of God always prevails. The will of God was that God had already blessed the Israelites and chosen them to be his people. So there was no way that Balaam's curse was going to work. And the second lesson that we learn here is that God always protects his people. And so in this way, Balaam's 3 curses were turned into blessings for the Israelites. Every time he attempted to curse them, he found himself blessing them. And he even declined the money because God had told him to only say and do what he would tell him to do. So the second lesson we can draw from this is that God always protects his people, and he protected them from being cursed and instead reversed the curses into blessings. And then the final lesson we can learn here is that God uses extraordinary circumstances to achieve his purpose. In this instance, he used a donkey to speak. Ordinarily, donkeys are animals, they don't speak human language. They speak their donkey language. But this donkey was able to speak, and this was God's way of making Balaam to stop and to tell him that when he gets there to the king, he is to follow God's instructions and not to curse the Israelites or to do anything against the will of God. So we learn that God can use extraordinary circumstances to achieve his purpose.